Welcome to episode 2 of our Zapier tutorial series from Ampra.ai. My name is Ben, and in this lesson, we're going to be learning about paths in Zapier. This is a great way to make an automation do different things based on a certain criteria. In lesson 1, we created a new form in Google Forms, which automatically triggers an email to the person who filled out the form and CCs me. So it sends an email to that person with a CC of Ben at Ampra.ai and sends them an email that says, "Hi, person's name. Congrats on using your first Zapier demo. Wasn't so hard, right?" And the subject on that email is "Congrats on using Zapier." So one of the questions we have in this form is, do you know how to use Zapier? Yes or no? I'm going to use that as my criteria for a path. If they know how to use Zapier, I'm going to send one email. If they don't know how to use Zapier, I'm going to send an internal email to Julian and say, "Julian, you should reach out to this person and help them learn Zapier." So to do this, we have to go to the plus icon here to add a step. We're going to click that, and on the right side here, you can see the button for paths. We're going to click on that, and you can see now we have path A and path B. Now, the biggest tip that I have when building a Zapier is actually labeling every step that you have. So here we have split into path. So I'm going to click the 3 dots and rename this. I'm going to say split based on Zapier knowledge. And path A, I'm going to say has used Zapier. And path B, I'm going to say has not used Zapier. Okay. The next thing we have to do is set the condition. So on the left side, we have has used Zapier. So we're going to click on the path conditions. It's going to bring up this configuration box, which says only continue if this meets this criteria. So the this here, we're going to say only continue if the field of have you used Zapier. So I'm going to search Zapier. There's our question from the form. And then exactly matches. And I want it to match yes. Now I can click continue at the bottom. And you can see that it would go down this path, right? So only continue if the question of have you used Zapier contains the answer yes. Cool. Now I'm going to set the path on the other side. It's going to be very similar. We're going to go only continue if have you used Zapier exactly matches no. And then I'm going to click continue. It's going to test it, and it will say your path would not have continued. That's perfect. That means that it would only go down this left side, and it would not go down the right side. Okay, great. So the next step is to set up the action we want that path to take. In this case, I'm going to make it very simple. I'm just going to send a Gmail. So I'm going to click here, select Gmail. So if they have used Zapier, then send them an email using Gmail. I'm going to set the event to send email. I'm going to select my account here, Ben at Ampra.ai. That's the account that it sends from. And then I'm going to configure this very similar to lesson 1. So I want this to go to the person's email address. So I'm just going to hit the slash or press the plus button here, then type in the @ sign, and that pulls up the question, what is your email? So that would go to the respondent. Then I'll set the subject. I'll say, you've used Zapier. That is cool. And I can say, I see that you said you've used Zapier in the past. That's great. Cool. Super simple. You can customize this email to be whatever you want. The next thing I'm going to do, since I have this path built, is I'm going to test that step. So now it will send to the recipient. So this sent to benrevson@gmail.com. It just sent this email. Now I'm going to build a very similar email on the right side. But instead of emailing the respondent, I actually want to email Julian to let them know about this person. So I'm going to do a Gmail step here. I'm going to click on send email, select my account again. And then when I configure, I actually want this email to go to Julian at Ampra.ai. And I want the subject to say help. Then I'm going to hit the plus sign, find the person's name. So help, person's name, learn Zapier. And I will say, hi, Julian. And then I'm going to do name. So Ben filled out our Google form and said they have never used Zapier, you should totally invite them to our Circle community so that, then I'm going to put the name again, can learn the basics of Zapier. Okay, so this email says, "Hi Julian, Ben filled out our Google form and said they have never used Zapier. You should totally invite them to our Circle community so that Ben can learn the basics of Zapier." Okay, then I'm going to hit continue, and then I can test this step to send to Julian, or I can skip the step if I wanted to. I could skip the test rather, so I'm going to hit that. And now we can see in the top right corner, we have the publish button, and our Zapier is built. So now we have a Zap that takes in a response, sends an email to that person, says, "Hey, you used your first Zapier, not so hard, right?" And then depending on if they have or have not used Zapier, it sends them another email, or it sends an email to Julian saying we should invite them to our Circle community so that they can learn more about the basics of Zapier. So that's how paths work in a nutshell. You could make this path have as many steps in it as you want. So if you wanted to send them an email, then add them to a CRM, add them to a texting list, send them an invitation to your Circle community, send them another form, send them a YouTube video, all those things, you can do that. And the craziest part is you can also add another path below that, and you can continue this chart down. So you could say, if this person, after they get the email, I want it to go into another path, you can continue doing that, and you can see how this tool can become really powerful and also really confusing. But as you think through all of the logic of why you would want multiple paths, you can do that. One other thing to note is that you can actually have many different paths, I believe 6, in one. And what I mean by that is we have 2 criteria here, right? They have used Zapier or they have not used Zapier. Or let's say we had a third option. And in this case, I could say, if the question of have you used Zapier is empty, right? So does not exist, then do this thing. And so in that case, I could have it send them an email and say, on our form, we had the question asking if you've used Zapier, and it seems you didn't give us an answer. Do you mind letting us know if you've used Zapier before? And I could set that up, and so you can have all these different criteria. So imagine that if you have a lead form and it says, what industry do you work in? Then you can have different emails based on the industry or based on city, based on whatever criteria you want. So paths are extremely helpful and very important when building your Zapier automations.